Whether you're conquering professional exams or personal milestones, we welcome you to Beyond Clean's Confidence Certification, the 52-week test prep podcast series. With expert insights, actionable tips, and engaging discussions, we'll break down the toughest concepts in sterile processing and build your confidence every step of the way. Join host Sarah B. Cruz as she embarks on a mission to help you not just prep for tests, but craft your success story. And now your host, Sarah B. Cruz.
Hello and welcome. You're listening to Confidence Certification, a 52-week test prep podcast series to equip you to take your sterile processing career to the next level. I'm your host, Sarah B. Cruz, and on this episode, we'll be talking about who has your back. I hope by this point of our time hanging out and talking about getting ready for certification that you're feeling more confident. You feel like you have more tools. Hopefully, you're taking what you're listening to and you're applying it. And instead of making this week's episode really content heavy and really tool heavy, I wanted to take a second to check in on everyone. We're about 12 episodes in at this point. So I want to speak more specifically to you. Not just your habits, not your systems, but who you are and who you aren't when you're studying and prepping for your certification test. Literally, to you. My sterile processing colleagues. How are you doing out there? Are you tired? Are you overwhelmed? I hope you feel empowered. I hope you feel focused. But sometimes getting ready for our certification, it's daunting and it can be exhausting. Especially when we've taken the test before and maybe we failed. Or we're just coming out of sterile processing school and everything feels so overwhelming and all we want to do is get our first jobs. Or how about the OG Real MVP hanging out in the sterile processing department to find out that they need to get an additional certification in order to get to that next step of their professional selves? If I asked you right now if you had a test date scheduled, what would your initial reaction be? Not your answer. It could be a yes, it could be a no, it can be I'm thinking about it, but what is that gut reaction you have when I ask you? Have you scheduled your test yet? Does it feel looming? Is it approaching? Is it coming in hot? How many of you guys are taking your test tomorrow, right? Well, I'm glad you're hanging out with me. But seriously, what is that initial reaction you have when I talk about signing up for your test? A lot of the things we've been covering, a lot of the different aspects, while they are tangible, while you can act on them, they are just discussion and action until you sign up for your test. You know I'm always going to have your back in this process. You know Beyond Clean is always going to show up in a way that supports you with podcasts and platforms like this. Confidence Certification was defined to help you identify great ways and core ways to achieve certification confidently. But to show up for our sterile processing professionals in the way that they need, we need to understand the moments of high stress, the way that new processes and the courageous act of signing up for your certification test and the weight that bears on you. If you've been struggling to take the test in the past, if you're just joining our profession, or if you haven't looked at a test book or a test in itself in ages, we're here for you. But who has your back out there? Family members? Are you flying solo? What about managers? Who's the one that's going to give you the high five when the weight of your own hand on your back is just not enough? And we're going to take this quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about some places you can find that. It's time for our mid-episode confidence boost, where we focus on a key sterile processing test concept. Now, there's no guarantee these concepts will be on the test that you take, but they are key concepts to the workplace and discussed in the literature. Today we'll be covering regulations, standards, and recommended practices. Now, I know a lot of the times we like to use all these words willy-nilly and interchangeably, but I am here to tell you that they are all very different terms and are applied very differently in your sterile processing space. So, a regulation, a rule, there's that word association, is a principle, rule, or law designed to control or govern behavior. Compliance with a regulation is mandatory. It's required. It's the law. Examples of agencies that issue regulations include the Occupational Health and Safety Administration, OSHA, the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, the Food and Drug Administration, FDA. Now, a standard is an established norm determined by opinion, authority, research, and or theory. These are not legally required, but are recognized as the primary measure of good practice. The Association for the Advancement of Medical Instrumentation, AMI, and the Centers for Disease Control, the CDC, are good examples of standards. And lastly, recommended practices are statements of sound principle or practice that are based upon scientific data and the opinions of experts. Again, these are not legally required, but they do reflect accepted practices that apply to the sterile processing and a lot of other healthcare spaces. A good example of this is the Association of Perioperative Registered Nurses, or AORN. That's going to wrap this week's mid-session confidence boost. Good luck. Hey everyone, if you're just joining us after this break, we've been talking about who has your back and what kind of support system is in place for you while you're trying to take your certification test. It can be an overwhelming process, especially when you've already failed and you're trying to pass and you're facing the restrictions of life and life is just so lifey. That's what this episode's all about. It's all about you, the sterile processing professional. And remember, you are a sterile processing colleague. If you have just joined our field, you're still in school, or if you've been in it for a while, you are still a part of this industry, and we count on you to perpetuate the future of it and contribute to it. So welcome. We're happy to have you. Speaking of industry, let's talk about the importance of community when we discuss support systems. I like to joke around that I'm an introvert who plays an extrovert on TV because I get so tired after social interactions. I just need to curl up under my blanket and take a break, probably read a book or have a snack, right? But having a community can be very helpful in our pursuit of certification. Some of us are about to go through it. Others may already be going through it. So connecting with people in a professional community can really help solidify concepts, entertain questions, and provide actionable feedback. This is what being supported looks like, right? When you're in that same space, in that environment of consistent learning, idea exchange, concept discussion, this is being supported in your growth. Now, family can be supportive to your goals, but having a community that, I don't want to say actually gets it, but that you can have that professional discussion with is really going to support you through the process. Still have family, still have those that want to help you, and gosh, I can only imagine where I would be without the support of my Nana and especially my significant other and my aunt, who happens to be my best friend. I didn't have to work really hard to get her. They were very supportive. They saw me struggling. I knew I had them if I needed to vent, but it's not like I could bounce off dynamic air removal ideas with them. They were very supportive, but these communities made me feel supported. So now making sure we have a quality community is going to be vital. So let's talk about what that actually looks like and how to find one. There's that word quality again, right? We've brought it up a couple of times this season. And quality is the standard that we set for excellence, right? Remember, those who offer support, they're not your test answers. A quality community is not gauged by how much they can give you the answers for your certification test, okay? They won't be taking your test for you, and they will not have all the answers, okay? Remember, this is a support, not your primary mode of learning, okay? These people are here to support you and have that space where you can really dig into that community. I don't generally like to use terms like good and bad when I'm describing spaces. I just think the terms are too subjective and frankly a projection of our own ideas onto that which is around us. Good and bad is based off of our own perceived biases and different upbringings and so many different aspects, right? We have bigger fish to fry and we need to hold on to that energy to focus on the studies. Am I right? But I digress. Quality is the standard of something measured against something else. So for a long time, I was in the I didn't even study community. That's where I sat between test 1 and test 2. And I started to transition out of it between test 2 and test 3. And I finally got out of it between test 3 and test 4. Okay. It didn't help me being in that community space. Frankly, it made me feel bad, especially after the second time I failed the test and everybody was like, hey, I didn't even study. You don't even need the book. And I'm out here and I'm asking questions and they're like, yeah, no, it's just this. Why didn't you know that? You know, they didn't really offer me any real way to pass or the type of support I needed. Now, that might have been a great space for somebody else, somebody who learns quickly or doesn't have memory retention issues. And when I say they, I'm saying the community, not the individuals. I don't know who these people were, right? So understanding what's important to you will help identify what these quality spaces actually look like and how you need to be supported in them. Some other ways we can find quality communities is to ask ourselves some of these questions. What are some of your goals you're achieving with your certification? If you're taking your certification to demonstrate expertise, maybe you need to find a community of individuals, like-minded individuals that are doing it for the same reason. Maybe they exist on LinkedIn. Maybe they're your classmates, right? But associating with people or groups that have the same ambitions as you will help you anchor into the hope and the prospect of certification success, right? Ask yourself, what am I struggling with? Is it decon? Is it the assembly? Is it the sterilization chapter? There's a lot of concepts in sterilization. Okay, so there are an entire group of professionals that dedicate themselves to discussing these topics because they enjoy them. I know, weirdos, right? No, I like answering the phone for the OR. So if you ever had any questions about how to communicate with the OR, I'm your girl, right? Amongst other things. But there's entire groups that enjoy talking about the things that you are struggling with. Crazy, right? So you, again, could connect with them in class. Maybe there's an individual who did really well with the sterilization test. Or maybe there's somebody who's struggling in decon and that's where you did well. So you guys can exchange ideas and support each other. You can also try to find them through online. You can search hashtags. Again, please watch for venting groups. Remember, you're trying to find individuals and communities that are trying to achieve certification for the same reason you are. So when you search hashtags, try to really vet the information you're looking for. There's tons of communities out there. Just make sure you join one that resonates with you and your goals, right? And if social media is not really your bag, why not connect with someone in your department? Especially if you're already, in one and you've been in one. There's seldom a secret kept in a sterile processing department that everybody doesn't know about by lunch the next day. Okay. So if you think you have a secret in a sterile processing department, you're probably wrong. Everybody knows, right? So it's not going to be some big surprise when you talked about getting ready for your certification test. Okay. So is there anyone else in your department trying to get certified? If you're trying to get additional certifications, who else is? Maybe you'll inspire someone to also achieve additional certification just by sharing your going back through it. A lot of the times we don't achieve additional certification because it's like, oh my God, I got one. That's enough. I'm never doing that again. And as somebody who had one certification for a very long time, now with multiple certifications, a lot of it was through buddying. A lot of people in my various departments were also taking their tests, so we buddied up. And that really motivated me. Yeah. So as we begin to wrap this week's episode, I hope you're feeling reinvigorated. I hope you're feeling recognized and seen and mostly refocused. And dare I say a little bit more confident in your certification pursuits? Yeah, I would hope so, right? So, but this episode, you don't get off with homework just because I'm talking to you and it's a motivational episode, right? No. So for your homework, I want you to identify those who are supportive to you. Seriously, write their names out and thank them. When was the last time you thanked your aunt, right? When was the last time you thanked your significant other for all those endless study nights and supplying you with a tremendous amount of coffee, right? Write their name out and thank them. Then I want you to identify a community you can be supported by. So if you're going on social media, I prefer LinkedIn for the professional aspect. You can always connect with Beyond Clean and their folks there. I'm 100% hanging out there and will connect with you. You know, shoot me a message and say, hey, I heard you on a confidence certification and I'm doing my homework. Oh, I would love that. Oh, yeah, send me a message like doing my homework. That would be great. But really, take that time, do this homework. And remember, this episode was for you. Well, every episode's for you, but know that Beyond Clean and I, we think you're doing a great job and we appreciate that you're showing up every week for you and your certification pursuits because they help our industry. And that's going to do it for this week's episode. For more sterile processing education and resources, make sure to visit beyondclean.net or follow Beyond Clean on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't forget to check out over 1,000 SPD-related videos at youtube.com/beyondclean. If you have any questions or comments for the show, you can reach out to info@beyondclean.net. Finally, make sure to download the Beyond Clean mobile app on the Apple and Android app stores so that you don't miss a future episode of any of the other awesome Beyond Clean podcasts. My name's Sterile Cruz, and you've been listening to Confidence Certification. Until next time, keep fighting dirty and pass that test with confidence.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast series are of Sarah B. Cruz only and do not represent the companies she works for or collaborates with.